Come on now. Stongo, everybody. I hope everybody's doing good today. It's been a beautiful day today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe you've got to get outside a little bit or go to church. Spend some time with friends or your family. I had a really good day today. I've already done part one of a video about my great-grandmother, who we call Big Mama. So this is going to be part two, just a few more things that I'm going to share about her that has been passed down. In the first video, and forgive me if I repeat something that I've already said, but I talked a little bit in the first video about my grandmother's birth. When she was born with a veil covering her face, and that's known as an in-call birth. And it has different meanings in different cultures, but from what has been passed down to me, the only thing that we know is that that signified that my grandmother would have the ability to see things that other people may not see. And another little bit of information I wish I knew more about, but my Big Mama, she actually kept that veil, which to my understanding, that is part of the amniotic sac, that when a baby's born in call, that's covering their face. But she kept that, and I believe she kept it in her purse, and she had it with her everywhere she went. And the reason she did that is kind of a mystery that I don't know, but it had some type of significance to her, for her to do that. And I'm sure it probably was, you know, something of goodwill or protection for my grandmother, or maybe just something as a reminder to her how special that was. But it's just something I've always wondered about. I don't know if anyone else in my family knows more information. If you see this, please let me know. But or if anyone that watches this, if you've heard of that, and if you ever heard of someone that actually keeps that for some reason, I would love to know more about that, what the significance of that might be. But just a couple stories I wanted to share about Big Mama and their old house, which this would actually have been the last home that they lived in, I believe. And the community where they last lived was called Nokomis. And Nokomis is located a few miles to the west of Atmore, Alabama, and very near the Florida state line also. And that house, my mom told me stories about it all my life. I remember her talking about strange things happening at their house. One story that she told me was that they would be there at that house, and numerous occasions they would hear a noise up under the house. And it sounded like a flopping type noise, like a chicken that was, you know, flopping around under the house or something. But every time they heard that, they would run outside and look up under the house, and there wouldn't be anything there. There wouldn't be any sign of a chicken or anything else. So they never could find out what was causing that noise. But they just described it as a chicken flopping its wings, is what it sounded like. But there were other strange things that happened there too at their house. And I've heard one account one time of one of my family members, one of my mom's siblings, that witnessed in the kitchen of that house some silverware that was in the drain of the sink, or in the sink, and they saw that the silverware rose up and floated in the air. And I don't know what caused that, but I do believe the person that told me 100% that they were telling the truth. And if you knew the person, you would know as well that they were telling the truth, that this really happened. Another story that I heard several times from different people is that often they would see a ball of fire, is what they described as a ball of fire, which could be some type of orb or light, and they would see this coming from a distance down the road from the house, and it would come closer and closer to the house, and then when it got right in front of the house, it would suddenly turn and come up into the yard. And they had a big tree in the yard, and this ball of fire or orb or whatever it was, it would come up to that tree, and then it would make circles around that tree so many times, and then it would just shoot up to the top of the tree and disappear. I don't know what that was. I wish I did. They didn't report, or I didn't hear anything else about anything happening in conjunction with that. I don't know if they heard any sounds or anything like that, but if they did, I've not heard that. So all I know is that they saw that, or different ones saw that, and that it was something that happened numerous times, and it would always follow the same pattern for whatever reason. So I have also heard that same or similar stories in other Indian communities just north, in the county north of us, which is Monroe County. There were a lot of Indian families who lived up there as well, and I've heard that happened in some of those communities as well, that people would see that, and something very similar to that, with a ball of fire or a light or an orb or whatever it was. And I did hear one story related to me that had some type of ties to the Indian removal. And going back a little bit further in time, the removal of Creek people from Alabama, as well as other tribal groups from the southeast, that started happening in the 1820s. There were some who self-immigrated. There were some who left early on their own and moved to Indian territory. And there were different detachments at different times that went to Indian territory. And the years to come, of course, when the Indian Removal Act was passed, which was strongly pushed by President Andrew Jackson. Um, that's what you know became the driving force for most of the removal that occurred then and shortly after, and even forced removal. Some were put into chains, and some, or many, of course, died from exposure to the weather, from outbreaks of disease. Were terrible outbreaks of disease like yellow fever, cholera. My fifth great grandfather, his name was Dode Gasajo. His also had his American name were as Sam Manak. But he was my fifth great grandfather. And he was forcibly removed. He had family members who were rounded up and taken, and it was a, it was really it was a big scam, because at that time a lot of the Creek people who remained in Alabama were promised by the government that if they would go and help the government to fight against the Seminoles down in Florida, that they would be allowed to stay in their homeland and would be allowed to stay at their homes, and that their families would be protected while they were gone. However, that was not the case. When that happened, the government troops came in and rounded up their families and took their families down to Mobile Point. And then the ones who had gone down to help fight, they took them directly from Florida by boat up to Mobile Point. And from that time, they then took them over to Pass Christian, Mississippi. And the plan was, and which occurred several times, steamboats would go up from there up the Mississippi River all the way up into the Arkansas Territory there. And my fifth great grandfather was there at Pass Christian, Mississippi. There was an encampment there because they had, at the time, the water was, either the water was low or not conducive for travel right at that time, or maybe they were waiting a steamboat to come. But at the same time, yellow fever was raging at New Orleans and also at Mobile, and a lot of the Creek people there were struck by yellow fever, including my fifth great grandfather. I'm sorry, and so he unfortunately passed away there during removal, and to this day, I wonder if he'd have made it and not passed away, how that would have affected me today, how that would have affected my life or my family's lives. And I had a lot of family members and extended family members who did remove to Oklahoma, and I have relatives in Oklahoma today, and have been there plenty of times, and I've even gone to some of the cemeteries there and found some of my distant ancestors and found their graves. But as the Creek people, as they left their various tribal towns in Alabama and Georgia, they, of course, their ceremonial fires were at their grounds, at their square. Each town had that, and where they had their ceremonies and their dances, and the Boskada or the green corn dance, and which was a yearly thing and very important. But their fires, they removed the ashes from those fires. They put those in canes, river canes, inside of canes, and there would be a designated person, a designated warrior who would be in charge of carrying that as they traveled en route to Indian Territory. And if something happened to that person that was carrying, there would be somebody else that was assigned to take over. But of course, there were a lot of deaths along the way, but those ashes from those fires were taken and rekindled in Indian Territory. In relating that back to the story about the ball of fire, there was a story related to me by a Creek elder in Oklahoma that those occurrences where those balls of fire were seen back in Alabama, back in the East, that there were ceremonial fires that were searching for their home. They were searching for a place. And it's kind of, I can't say that that is definitely what was going on. When my family members and others would see these things, but it does make me think, and I think it's really interesting. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's about to get dark on me, but I just wanted to take a few minutes and share that, and hope that you enjoyed those stories. And I will be doing more, and I do at some point in the future, I do plan to start doing some lives. However, I've got to learn how to do that, and so I need to get some pointers from some folks and some different equipment and things like that. So, but I just want to thank you all for watching, and I hope that you enjoy these stories, and they're all factual. If there's something that's not, I'll let you know, but all these are factual things. I can't explain them sometimes, but I can say, that they do have special meaning to me, and hopefully they do to you. And if you have any stories like that you would like to share, please leave a comment, or message me on Facebook Messenger or something, and I'd like to hear from you, and just anything like that about your family or about other people, and I would certainly love to hear those, and with your permission, be happy to share some of that as well in some of my videos in the future. So I hope everybody has a good Sunday evening. Hope you have a good week coming up this week. And I just want to ask everyone to pray. Pray for one another. Pray for your family. Pray for your friends. Pray for me. I strongly feel that in the days that we're living in, that prayer, though always is vital, even more so these days and times, we need to pray for one another and love one another And that includes folks that we don't like or we may not agree with, or they may rub us the wrong way, or we may think that they are, and in a lot of cases they are, doing some really bad things or just downright evil things. But we need to remember that we are all part of God's creation, and we're all connected. All things are connected. All life is connected. So let's pray for one another. And you don't have to like somebody to pray for them. And you don't have to agree with them to pray for them. If nothing else, just pray that they would see the truth of God's love and who God is, and that they would change their ways, that God would change them. And if you get a chance, even if it's a stranger that you see at a store, just give a smile and say something nice, because you never know, that person, you might be the only person that smiles at them the whole day, or maybe even the whole week. You may be the only person to say anything nice. So just plant a seed, and I think when we do that and we give that love away, it will return. And I apologize that it's getting dark on me and you can't see me, but that's probably a good thing anyway. But I'm just enjoying the evening out here on the deck, and just wanted to take a few minutes to share some of that time with all of you. So I thank you again for watching Mado, Ski, if you're Cherokee, Lily Molo, if you're Alabama, Kushada or Kushada, Wado, if you're Cherokee or Katuah Band, Oklahoma. I love you all, and have a blessed week. And until next time, please like and subscribe if you're not already, and share this with your friends, and leave a comment. I'd like to hear from you. Thanks again. Adam G. Jollies.